Story Corner, presented by Jennifer. Thoroughbred, Book 1, A Horse Called Wonder. Ashleigh had spent the whole morning with Wonder. First, she had carefully groomed the filly. She'd curried and brushed Wonder's copper coat, then wiped it with a soft cloth until it shone. Then she combed out the filly's silky mane and tail and cleaned her hooves. Now she stood back and inspected the horse. To Ashleigh's eyes, the filly looked gorgeous. Wonder's muscles were firm, and they rippled under her coat. Her finely shaped head was high, and her eyes were bright and alert. She gazed at Ashleigh with ears perked and pranced across the stall to bat Ashleigh playfully with her head. There was no question that Wonder was now a fit and healthy animal. The only fault Ashleigh could find was that she was still small compared to the other yearlings. But there was nothing else Ashleigh could do. Now it was up to Mr. Townsend. Ashleigh threw a light blanket over Wonder and kissed her velvet nose. "This is it, girl," she said anxiously. Wonder blew a soft breath against Ashleigh's cheek. "I love you too," Ashleigh sighed. She heard Mr. Townsend's voice at the end of the barn. She had almost hoped he had forgotten all about the inspection and would just let Wonder stay in the barn. But he hadn't forgotten. Reluctantly, Ashleigh left the stall with a final pat for Wonder. She squeezed her hands together as she walked up the barn aisle. She was so anxious that her stomach hurt. She saw Mr. Maddock come inside with his clipboard in hand. As he opened the barn door, Ashleigh saw quite a few of the stable hands standing outside. Somehow, word had gotten around the farm that Townsend would be making a decision about Wonder today. Charlie had told her that just about everyone was rooting for her in the filly. But that didn't mean much if Mr. Townsend didn't like Wonder. When Ashleigh reached the adults, Mr. Townsend said briskly, "You've been working hard, I hear." Ashleigh swallowed and nodded. "Yes, I have." "Why don't you take her out in the yard and walk her around? We can get a better look at her out there." Ashleigh was scared at the thought of leading Wonder around in front of all the watching eyes. But she was glad, too, that Mr. Townsend was going to do more than just a stall inspection. He needed to see Wonder's movements, and Ashleigh knew that the filly would show better if she was leading her. Ashleigh went back to Wonder's stall, clipped on the lead shank, and led the filly out into the aisle. "Okay, girl," she whispered to Wonder. "Do your best." She felt dazed but determined as she brought Wonder down the barn. Her father had pulled open the barn doors, and a cold wind blew inside. But Ashleigh didn't feel the chill. Mr. Townsend and Mr. Maddock had already gone out and were standing at the side of the yard to watch. Her father stopped her as she was about to step outside. "Let's take off her blanket," he said. "No one's going to see her good points if she's covered up." Ashleigh nodded mutely as he unbuckled the straps of the blanket and drew it off. "She looks good, Ashleigh," he said. "You've done your best." "Thanks, Dad," Ashleigh breathed. Her throat felt so tight she couldn't raise her voice above a whisper. Ashleigh took a deep breath, braced herself, and led Wonder forward. The filly hesitated as they entered the yard. Her ears shot forward, and she turned her head from side to side, looking around. She sensed something important was going on. Snorting out anxious breaths, she pranced sideways on the end of her lead. Ashleigh held the lead firm. "It's okay, girl," she said in her familiar, soothing tones. "We're just going for a little walk like we do every day." But Wonder saw all the people watching. She threw up her head and nearly pulled the lead shank from Ashleigh's hands. Ashleigh quickly tightened her grasp on the rope. "Easy, easy." Ashleigh waited a second for the filly to quiet, then led Wonder forward. She prayed that Wonder's show of spirit would impress the watchers. They certainly couldn't have any doubts that Wonder was alert and interested. "Come on, Wonder, come on. Show them you've got what it takes." Wonder's ears pricked. She picked up her feet and followed along beside Ashleigh with brisk, clean strides. Ashleigh nervously led the horse up the graveled yard, then circled back towards the barn. She saw Charlie leaning on a paddock rail behind the others. He gave her a wink and a confident nod, and Ashleigh immediately began to feel better. She saw Brad Townsend in the crowd, too. From the expression on his face, he was pretty surprised at Wonder's appearance, and impressed, despite himself. Ashleigh smiled with satisfaction and led Wonder off in another big circle. Mr. Townsend had only asked her to walk Wonder, but Ashleigh knew she had to do everything she could to show Wonder off. She picked up her pace and urged Wonder into a trot. Wonder tossed her head, but willingly followed her trusted friend. She arched her neck and elegantly lifted her feet, showing her best form. Ashleigh had to run to keep up with Wonder's long strides. But at a trot, the men could see the filly's smooth gait and the muscles flexing beneath her glossy coat. Ashleigh thought she heard admiring murmurs from the people watching, but she wasn't sure. She was afraid to look at their faces. She brought Wonder around in another big circle. Then she saw Mr. Townsend motion her to stop. She was so frightened she felt dizzy. What was he going to think? She couldn't tell from his face. She saw her parents, Caroline and Rory, watching anxiously from near the barn. Mr. Townsend and Mr. Maddock walked towards her. Neither of them was smiling. Maybe Wonder hadn't done as well after all. If they decided not to keep Wonder, Ashleigh would just die. Without saying anything to Ashleigh, they looked Wonder over. They felt her legs and rubbed their hands over her quivering muscles. Then Mr. Townsend walked away, turned, and studied Wonder from a distance of several yards. Mr. Maddock joined him, and they spoke quietly together. Ashleigh couldn't hear what they were saying. For a second, she had the strangest feeling that everything was blacking out. Then Wonder nickered and touched her shoulder, and Ashleigh came back to her senses. Finally, Mr. Townsend walked over to Ashleigh and smiled. "We'll keep her on," he said. "Another year, anyway." Ashleigh felt dizzy again, but this time from pure happiness. "I always appreciate hard work," he said. "You were right about this filly. She just might have something. You've done a good job with her, and I'd be hasty to send her to auction." "Thank you," Ashleigh gasped. She felt weak from relief and delight. "Thank you," Townsend said. "I don't really want to give up one of Townsend Prize's foals." He dropped a hand on Ashleigh's shoulders and gave her a quick wink. Then he motioned to the trainer, and the two men set off up the drive. Ashleigh's knees were trembling so badly she could hardly stand. But her eyes were shining as she turned to Wonder and buried her face in Wonder's neck. "You're going to stay, girl? I'm so happy I could die." Her family came rushing over. Even Caroline seemed thrilled. "Congratulations," they cried. "We're so proud of you." "When I get bigger, I'm going to save a foal too," Rory exclaimed. "Just like you, Ash." "Townsend was right about the job well done," her father added. Ashleigh glanced over and saw Charlie standing by the paddock. He gave her the high sign and called, "You're just beginning. Don't get soft yet." Ashleigh laughed. "All right, Charlie." She knew she was just beginning, but she couldn't wait to get started on the rest of her plans for Wonder. The images danced in front of her eyes. Wonder in training. Wonder racing around the track with Ashleigh in the saddle. Wonder winning a race, the two of them proving to everyone that Wonder really was a spectacular horse. "Now we can really dream, can't we, girl?" she said to the horse. Wonder lifted her head high and let out a piercing whinny of joy.